electricity here in Columbia. Well, it's been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the raid breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina!
It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard, welcome home, and welcome to football season. Inside the Gamecocks, the show live from the Signorama Studios and built by the Barndoco, the barndominiumco.com. That dream home can be built for as low as $160 per square foot. All you got to do is head to the barndominiumco.com if you live in the Carolinas and Georgia or in Tennessee. Signorama is the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, and we are thrilled to be partnered with Matt Vaughn and his team, and they have just done some outstanding work over the years for campus and for anybody and everybody who owns a business and anything in between in the Palmetto State. You don't have to be in Columbia. You can be anywhere within our borders, and they can take really good care of you just like they do of us. JC, JB, and Phil here until 1 today. We'll be joined in about 30 minutes by John Whittle of thebigspur.com. We'll get his update from the scrimmage this weekend, Carolina's final scrimmage in the preseason. Looking forward to that. And then coming up at noon, Talkin Ball with the great Pat DiMarco as well right here on our program. Carolina finally got that defensive end transfer commitment this weekend. So all of those who hop on and off the message boards every day and like to joke about it and think that people like JC have been lying for 5 months, you got proved wrong. Carolina is deeper and South Carolina is better with Drew. JC, how do you say it?
Tuiazama.
Transfer from defensive end. So we'll let JC fill us in on that. And guys, Daniel Hill's going to commit on Wednesday as well. Could be some potential good news to kick off the season with for the Gamecocks. And finally, they actually kick off football coming up this Saturday. What's up?
Can't wait. Looking forward to all of it. Yes,
week 0 is such a tease.
0 games.
I mean, I'm going to have a nice week 0 because Notre Dame's playing in my house. I'm heading back to Chi-Town Wednesday. And going to spend week 0 up there. But when all of us here in the South are sitting around going, man, must-see TV is Vanderbilt, Hawaii. I mean, come on.
Just a bunch of degenerates. But you know what? Like, it is. You know, I raised my hand.
Give us. I mean, we have the Ireland game, and everybody appreciates that. That was the best game last year. But although Florida State played last year and North Carolina played last year on this day, so I'm sure there's some other not so great matchups being played. But yeah, still it's football and high school started, so now it's time for college to kind of trickle in, and then the big daddy is next weekend when the Gamecocks will head to Charlotte and all that stuff. So yeah, Drew Tuiazama commits. And here's how this went. Okay, it was a situation where it took a lot longer for him to get in the portal than a lot of folks thought. And you can't contact the guy and do much with the guy if he's not in the portal. Right. You know, you're always aware of everybody who's everywhere. Let's say, yeah, he finished up. Finally, jumped in the portal. Obviously, there was some interest, and you know, it was kind of touch and go as a lot of these situations are with transfers. You guys are going to have to get used to this, by the way. Those of you that live and die with recruiting, I appreciate you. I wouldn't have a job or a career if you didn't care. But you're going to have to start understanding that these things are not all black and white. These things change sometimes by the minute with NIL and the portal and all that good stuff. And quite frankly, it's bad for the program in some cases, the more you guys know. And I'm sorry, it is my job on the Big Spur and here to bring you as much knowledge and insight and inside information as I possibly can. But you're not entitled to 100% of it, not at the cost of the program. And it was very disappointing because I've kept my mouth shut about this guy, about kind of knowing that if he got in, then Carolina probably have an interest in him. The day he gets in the portal, all these random people start tweeting at him and talking to him and stuff. So I don't know. We talked about leaks last week, so I'm not going to go into it this week. But that's just for everybody I've talked to in the building. They're like, man, this could hurt us. Luckily, it didn't this time. So I'm just telling you guys that. I love all y'all, and I'll tell you as much as I know that I can. But I think you would rather me keep some things to myself rather than have things be detrimental to the football program and them not get a guy because of it that they need, which they do need this guy. On that note,
this is let's get some of the simple basic questions out of the way too, JC, because this is fourth school. He began at Syracuse, East Mississippi JUCO, and then on to UAB. Mm-hmm. So he does have 2 years of eligibility remaining, correct?
I'd have to check in and see what his COVID year situation was.
Okay.
But he may have two. I think it's a little unrealistic to think he's going to play against North Carolina a bunch. I think he's probably got to get in shape. You got to go through what's called an acclimation process too before he can even put on pads. I think by Georgia, though, you're going to see him on the field a lot. This guy's a grown man. He's 6'5", 275. The UAB people thought he was going to be an NFL draft pick. And Sean, no, he did not finish conditioning with UAB. He was taking summer school classes. I don't even know if he was taking them at UAB or not. But Gamecock and NFL, when is he getting to campus? He is already there.
He's practicing,
going through the acclimation period, if you will. But this guy's going to be good. Now, I need to check on the 1 or 2 years because 2 years would be a really big thing, if he had 2 years left. But I just think Carolina got a good one there. And I think that,
no doubt.
I mean, people are, there is a certain section of the fan base and even college football, quote unquote, experts that scoff at, it's just UAB. Well, number one, UAB is pretty damn good program. It won't be in a few years because I don't think Trent Dilfer's going to win there. But Bill Clark was a hell of a coach, great evaluator. He could find guys. That's one. And number two, NFL players come from all over. And number three, at this program, we should know by now that getting guys from the lower level sometimes works out bigly. I'll remind everybody, transfer from East Tennessee, transfer from Wingate, and a transfer from James Madison or South Carolina doesn't win the Clemson game last year.
Right.
Oh, and the kicker and punter that everybody blasted Will Muschamp for taking as a scholarship player. So think about that. And that's one game, right? And I think it's nice to get guys from bigger schools, nice to get guys from small schools. I don't care as long as they can play. And this guy, when you watch him on film, he's quick twitch. He's huge. He's basically Jordan Birch's size. Doesn't have the Jordan Birch hype, but when you look through his career, he's a hell of a lot more productive than Jordan. Plays a lot meaner than Jordan. Plays a lot tougher than Jordan. We'll see what he does against the SEC offensive linemen. I think that Georgia game would be a hell of a one to throw him into because they got a really good O-line. But it's probably going to take him that. And what I would do if I were the staff, and I don't know if this is the plan or not, I would, provided you blow Furman out or you get comfortably ahead against Furman, I'd just stick him out there and let him go play. Get as many reps as you can against the Paladins. Get acclimated to playing in a game. If he makes a mistake, so what? It's not going to cost you the game. But I think that if I were them, that's probably what I would do, would just let him do it. And Billy asked about Ryan Brubaker. He's banged up right now. Was kind of second-ish team. Not anymore, I don't think, but banged up right now.
Let's a couple of things here. By the way, he was originally born in Chicago, Illinois, which is near and dear to your heart now, JC. But 19 was his 19 was his freshman year, and he only made one appearance with the Orange. And 2020, he played in 6 games with Syracuse, but that's a free year. So when you go, so technically you're counting 21 as a freshman year and 22 as a sophomore year. So he does have 2 years of eligibility.
Bam!
For South Carolina. So he's I'm not saying I disagree with anything you said. I really don't know. My gut tells me he's going to play a little bit more than people think he probably is early on, and I'll tell you why. Because JC, he's kind of fitting the mold as a guy similar to Tonka Hemingway, where you can put him out there in a couple of different roles, just with his size and depending on what type of package they may be in, especially in a game like North Carolina, where if it's a situation you got to get to the quarterback, and he's a guy who's not going to just be just a big plug right there in the middle. He's an end. So, but he also is a guy that you can put in at the quote unquote tackle position, or like a rabbit style position, as they used to call it, and allow him to get in there and do some damage. So I actually believe he's probably going to end up playing a little bit more earlier in his carear.
Yeah, special teams experience too, so that's going to get him on the field, I think, more this year too.
I mean, honestly, Jamie, thinking about kind of some based on some things I've heard of, that probably would not surprise me. I'm being very conservative with it though, because it's awfully close.
Absolutely.
Guy comes in that quickly. It's awfully.
Well, I mean, he's got 1 week of practice, if that. JC, I mean, they're turning their attention in the middle of the week to North Carolina.
You start working
here in a couple of days. So
Lee asked us if Lenore Sellers is officially number 2. No. And that was never the case. I know Brad tweeted he ran with the 2s. He ran with the 2s, but he wasn't number 1 with the 2s. Now, if something happened to Spencer Rattler, I think I'd be awfully hard pressed to think that Lenore wouldn't at least play, because the quote I got about Lenore Sellers this weekend, it looks like a lot of other people did too, was high praise from a person that does not give it easily. And I'm not going to try to run. This is Spencer Rattler's team. This is Spencer Rattler's year. Okay, I don't want to run the Lenore's hype train all that much, but I mean, my God, you keep hearing it over and over and over and over and over. It must be true. I mean, I saw the one clip, for whatever that's worth, where he steps up in the pocket. See, quarterbacks sometimes, guys, especially athletic ones, they don't step up in the pocket like that. That's hard to teach them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in that one clip, I don't know if he does it every play. That one clip, my man literally stepped up in the pocket and fired a dime down the field. The guy dropped it, or the DB made a good play, whatever. But that pass should have never even been close to on the money.
Right.
So, so that's it. KFC asked, who doesn't giveth the high praise? Don't ask me that question. I'm not going to tell you my sources. Come on, K. You know better, buddy.
Yeah. Better than that. Yeah.
But Luke getting reps at wide receiver, probably a little bit. Probably playing Luke, because Luke wants to play, and Luke's good. And Luke can play quarter. And Luke, I'd be shocked if Luke was not. If something happened to Spencer, God bless it for God, where Gamecocks are cursed if that happens. But I don't think Lenore Sellers takes the first snap. I think it's definitely Luke Denby. But
I do too.
In time, you get through that one game, you get to the next week. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. But, if you look down the road and you think, well, in a hypothetical Tanner Bailey, Lenore Sellers, Luke Doty, Dante Reno battle, would you think the odds are higher that Lenore's wins? And if you do think that, why not rep Luke just in case someplace else? Because Lenore's sitting moving. He's a quarterback.
Well, they've got an incredible group, and we know that the competition. Yeah, it's good. It's good, and they're being well coached. And when you've got talent and that talent is well coached, a lot of good things can happen. And as it was pointed out last week by Perry Orth, and I think it's a brilliant observation. This has happened around here a lot for a long time. And we could sit here for 20 minutes and probably name every single one of them. A star quarterback comes to South Carolina, and everybody can't wait to throw him in there as the savior of the program, and it doesn't work out. Or it doesn't work out like everybody thought it would, or it takes some time to actually maybe work out a little bit more than it initially did, and you're not in a situation like that. You've got Spencer Rattler, and quite frankly, if you had to make a depth chart today and everybody's healthy, Spencer Rattler is not only number one, he's the second string, he's the third string, and then somebody else is in there as the fourth string. I mean, he's that talented and that ready to go. So Phil, I push the pause button on a lot of these conversations. Everybody just can't wait to anoint the next guy. I'll allow that guy to anoint himself when he's ready, if that makes sense, because we've just, Ryan Helinski was supposed to save the year. There wasn't one human, and if you say that you questioned him, you are lying. Don't lie. There isn't one human in this fan base when a guy named Ryan Helinski committed that didn't want to see him day one and thought he was going to be the future of the program and the whole 9 yards. Same thing with Jake Bentley. Same thing with Steven Garcia. Same thing with Chris Smelly. We could keep going on and on and on. Nobody ever thought that about Connor Shaw. Everybody liked him. Nobody thought he was going to be the savior of the program. He's like,
I remember some idiotic takes on Shaw when he got in against Auburn, because the kid gets in, thrown to the wolves against Auburn because Garcia got knocked out of that one.
I agree.
He was fumbling.
Absolutely.
And he Carolina lost the game. And at the time, nobody knew how good Auburn really was, because Auburn had struggled and almost lost to Clemson, which wasn't a good Clemson team, and all this other stuff. But look, man, Connor led them down the field, and he's firing at the end zone for a potential tying score at the end of that game in a hostile environment. All right, I thought that was great. Well, then Spurrier gives him the job because he's pissed at Steven for some reason against East Carolina. And Connor goes out there and did not have the best outing. And they put Steven in, they come back and win the game. Well, then something happens with Steven. He's gone for the rest of the year. Connor comes back in and leads them to 11 wins. And there were just some people that just were totally wrong. Quarterback's an interesting interesting subject around here. I'll say this, though. I am not going to – I have to talk about Lenore Sellers, because this is not just like, hey, guy's going to be good in time. This guy is a – so I'm not trying to anoint him. I just think it's true.
Oh,
I think
no.
There's reason to
I'm not saying that.
Yeah. And it's nice to know. It's nice to know he's that good, because things happen in football. It's weird, especially at that position. So, no, it's not going to be like a Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler situation in Oklahoma, though. I can assure you of that. Although I think Lenore's could be better than Caleb Williams. I'll go ahead and say that right now, in time. Well,
and as well as I know, that as well as everybody should know, Lenore Sellers is grown up a lot already since he's been on campus, and he's grown up even more in these last two scrimmages. You know where he's going to grow up the most, though? Next weekend, the weekend after that, where he gets to watch 4, 8, 12 quarters of football and watch live bullets, and watch a guy who's been doing this for a while, and Spencer Rattler, watch how he handles the offense, watch how he carries himself, watch how he learns from bad decisions that he makes. Watch Lenore Sellers will learn himself from the good decisions that Spencer Rattler makes out there. He's been learning from Luke Doty as well, a guy who's got a lot of experience of being a collegiate quarterback, not just what we've seen on the field, but on the practice fields himself. So he's going to learn a lot. That, and I'm sure, JC, look, I'm pretty convinced of this. You're probably going to see him play somewhere in the first few games. I just think that there's no way you're not going to be able to play him in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you've got a big lead. Maybe it's just a unique situation where you feel like you can get him in the ball game for a play or two just to get his feet wet. You kind of need to. I don't know where that's going to be. I have no idea what Shane Beamer and their plans are. But I also know this, as the game has slowed down for him, and that's when you speed up, when the game slows down in any sport. It's going to crank right back up when they kick it off next week. It's going to be really fast for him out there just watching from the sidelines, and then it'll slow down again. So it's obviously a wonderful, wonderful attribute for this football team to have a kid as talented as him to be able to grow into his position at this level.
I'll say this: I laughed because I went off on the play call last year a lot, but that where they ran the carry-on straight up the middle.
Yeah.
I'd take my chances with this cat. Straight up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, which from what we heard, he doesn't. So,
yeah,
I mean, I'd take that. So, and yeah, you have Tony more tempo on offense. Absolutely. In fact, it may be it may look a lot faster. It's going to look a lot faster regardless, because I mean, I think a tortoise race would look faster than the operational tempo of the offense last year. But for the most part, but I think that I think we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and look, we've heard tempo around here there's a difference in tempo and knowing what you're doing, and tempo and not knowing what you're doing. At least as it is today, the understanding that I'm not going to speak for JC, I'm not going to speak for Phil, I'm not going to speak for anybody, the Big Spur. I'm just going to speak for myself. My understanding is they have a pretty good grasp of what they're doing out there, and so I hope we get to see that next week. Before we get to break here in just a second, I did see one question, and I want to make sure that that we answer it if we can. There it is, Trey. Hey, Trey. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your Monday. He asked if we could put something into perspective. I've seen when we've had preseason injuries, it's been blamed on conditioning. Is that under conditioning or over conditioning? So the first thing, Trey, I'm not throwing hammers at you. Just hang with me here. The first question I would ask is, who blamed it on conditioning? Who was that? Was it a fan? Was it a keyboard warrior? Was it the head coach? Who was it? The second thing is really neither. It's not necessarily under or over conditioning. It's more along the lines that things happen when you're pushing your body to do something that is hard to do. And just sometimes you got all kinds of injuries. Now, we had what was it, guys, 3 years ago or 4 years ago around here where there was just a lot of soft tissue injuries. That was a training problem. What was it specifically? I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
But that's a train. When you got that many soft tissue issues, you've got an issue somewhere in how you're training your program. So they went and fixed that. But when you've got a lot of, you bum an ankle or you do something to your knee or whatever, a lot of that stuff's just going to happen. So maybe a little bit more into context, if you don't mind. But I don't necessarily think it's under conditioning or over conditioning. Just things are a little bit different for pretty much anybody and everybody in the locker room.
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest. There's a lot of guys that missed with bumps and bruises on Saturday. Don't get me wrong. Am I concerned? Sort of. But then, another aspect of it is I think Shane Beamer and his staff know good and well, like every staff that's been successful here, that the difference between South Carolina and some of the upper echelon teams in the SEC many times is depth. Steve Spurrier, I mean, one of his assistants told me, like, he knew they could not – he despised injuries. He got accused of being soft. But last time I checked, his teams were twice as physical as Muschamps for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, on defense especially. And if they had to go out in shorts on Tuesday, so be it. They'd play backyard football the whole week and be healthy and rested and ready to go because, your top 44 or top 22, whatever, 25 to 30, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. But, I mean, and look, people want to know how Will Muschamp lost football games. How many times did he ever have his whole football team healthy? Never.
Seems rare.
Same way at Florida. I mean, so you've got to stay healthy here, and I think Beamer knows that. So my hope is some of these guys that have missed time, it's all precautionary. And I think that happened last year. I think everybody was like, these guys aren't going to be good to go. And then by the time they played Georgia State, it was like 3 guys, and we knew they'd be out. So hopefully this is all precautionary right now. I know it's easy to panic because we just went through a period of massive injuries every year around here. So you hope that for the best, but and it's frustrating. But I'm thinking it's more precautionary that you just don't want to make a guy that's a proven player. You don't want to scrimmage him and make it worse. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, absolutely. And the sign of a good football team is when there is a guy that goes down and a new name emerges, kind of steps up, and it just seems like they have been lucky enough to have that at different positions thus far through camp. John Whittle actually will give us a little bit of an update on that. A name has kind of been popping at receiver. You could call it off the radar if you want, but if you know where he's from, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Before we step aside, college football returns on Saturday. The first game of the season is on NBC. Navy and Notre Dame, the Irish coming in 13th in the country off of the win over our Gamecocks down in Jacksonville in the bowl game only a few months ago. And this is, believe it or not, the third game all time that they have played in Dublin, Ireland. Neither of the last two have been particularly close, although the last three neutral site games, careful, two of those three decided by 3 points or less in favor of the Irish. So who knows? Maybe Navy can show up and do something fun across the pond. UTEP at Jacksonville State. Actually, a couple of opponents on South Carolina's schedule this year are also playing on Saturday. Jacksonville State hosts UTEP at 5:30 on the CBS Sports Network, and then, of course, on the SEC Network, 7:30 Saturday night. Vandy and Hawaii. Man, God bless Hawaii. Those guys are dealing with a lot of stuff right now, but they're making the trip to Nashville for the ball game. The only other top 25 program that's going to be playing this weekend on the Pac-12 network, if that even still exists, 8 o'clock Saturday night, San Jose State at Southern Cal. So if you want to tune in and try to get a glimpse of Marshawn Lloyd,
it's on the Pac-12 network?
There's your chance. It is.
God, you can't even stream it.
Where do you find the Pac-12 network?
You don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's buried in you go to the end of the rainbow, and then you find it buried beneath the treasure. That's where you find the Pac-12 network.
Yeah, listen, I'd be happy to stream them here. They'd get more viewership probably than they would otherwise.
I bet if they put the Pac-12 network in the set, we'd all watch it. We're like, hey, we're going to go watch Oregon State and Washington State. How about that?
The Pac-4 on the
Pac-4.
As part of the Chiefs Sports Network. All right, we got to go because John Whittle, he gets angry when we're late. So we'll hit a timeout. The big man from the Big Spur inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garden and black every day by a couple of painters. Go to letmepaintsomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the Village at Creekside, all of her listings. In my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barndo Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barndo Company. Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia and go Gamecocks.
got to figure campus is a little less serene today after move-in day this weekend.
Yeah.
There's
day.
people
I remember those days well, man.
Yeah, I bet. Good time to get out of Columbia for a week or so, right, JC?
Well, good thing I was out this weekend. I got back into Columbia and going down 26 from the upstate. There's a line of cars heading back. A lot of mommies and daddies with tissues because they dropped their babies off at school. So, but man, there's stuff everywhere, like boxes and people walking up hills with that are about like in shape like me, worried about them, because they got too much. Oh, dads, there's probably a lot of Doan's back pills being taken yesterday.
Forgot my back pills.
Yeah, hey, here's a shocker for you too, because I live down in 5 Points. Somebody stole my parking space yesterday. It's not Columbia without that, right?
That's right.
Some jerk was in my space, and lucky I went downstairs to kind of get my dinner order, and he was in his old truck moving, so I pulled my car back out there. Yeah, didn't have him towed though. He's some kid. So
you Ron Jerry'd him, didn't you? You gave him the business.
Gave him the business.
Attaboy. John Whittle joining us at 11:33 here to kick off the final week of the summer without Gamecock football, playing a football game. John, it's almost arrived, and glad to have you, certainly. And I know that you're ready to actually be able to report on, what happens in a game as opposed to practice and pretty much anything and everything else that people could come up with. It seems to be off the wall, but they did scrimmage for the final time on Saturday night at Williams-Brice, kind of trying to mimic Bank of America Stadium coming up next weekend. What'd you learn from that scrimmage?
Well, to your point, we're ready to talk football, but there's about an 8-page thread on the bigspur.com right now discussing the new sideline polos. And so I think that's a telltale sign that we're getting close to football season.
But I got caught up in that earlier, John. I couldn't believe it. I got 3 pages in. I was ashamed of myself.
Well, if there's one guy that I think I locked it. Maybe John unlocked it, and that's fine too. Because one guy literally was sitting there with such disdain for the guy. Maybe you like the rowback. Maybe I don't give a flip what you wear. Okay, but he's just like, this is just terrible stuff. And obviously, anybody that buys it just has too much money. It's too much money. More money. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, that's why are you that fired up about someone else's clothing choice? I hated Tommy Hilfiger when I was in high school, right? I didn't attack people for it. It's just not for me.
What were you? Were you a Jinkos guy, JC?
I was in the 90s, brother. I wore baggy jeans and flannel. Not in the summer though. I wasn't that hardcore. I would actually break out the khaki shorts and a nice polo. So I looked like a hippie during the winter and a prep during the summer. I was like a hippie prepper type of dresser.
So, John, what'd you learn from the scrimmage on Saturday night?
Sorry about that. Well, it sounded like a pretty decent day for the offense. Most of the notes I got were from the offensive side, and they worked at a pretty quick tempo, and Spencer Rattler was getting the ball out really quickly. So that's obviously a good sign. He's played with a lot of confidence this preseason, and certainly seems geared up and ready to roll. He seems to be playing really well right now. So, it sounded like the offense ran a lot better when either DeCarrion Joyner or Juju McDowell were in there running back. Those two guys seem to be the top two guys at running back in that order. And, they're still experimenting a little bit with the offensive line, playing some guys at some different spots, some different combinations here and there. So, I think I think it has been a productive and good learning experience for the coaches as far as their offensive line goes. But there was a little different combination this weekend with Sidney Fugar starting at left tackle and Jackson Hughes starting at right tackle, and Ja'Kai Moore was in there at left guard. So, they're doing a couple different things, and I think they'll probably start to settle on what the starting O-line for UNC looks like here in the next few days.
Guys, we go back a few months, and we've had this conversation that they didn't bring Fugar's been on the radar. Gargiulo is a starter. I'll just say that. I know y'all said it. He's starting. Fugar's been on the radar as a potential starter. But they didn't bring in Nye Manziel and Jackson Hughes to just poke around and play on the scout team. And I was told that in June. And I know y'all heard way more than I've heard. And so it's interesting. I was talking to Preston about that this morning on 107.5 The Game. And the general progression, I think, guys, is that you want to see the offensive line behind earlier in camp and then kind of catching up later in camp. And it seems like that's happened, but it happened with changes, and Jackson Hughes is one of those changes. So, but collectively, between both of you, JC and John, is there a in your mind a better than average possibility that 3 transfers are starting on this offensive line in game 1?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think so. I certainly think so. I think 2 is probably a pretty safe bet. I think either I mean, Gargiulo is going to be in there, and I think either Hughes or Fugar will end up winning one of the two tackle spots, but maybe both. I mean, Ja'Kai Moore is still gonna have a say out there for sure. And as far as what's going on, Trey Jones on the interior at guard may bump Moore back out to left tackle. So we'll see. But I think at least 2 and a very good possibility at 3. I don't know how JC feels about it, but that's kind of what I've got right now.
I'm with you. And it's interesting because Jackson Hughes he was coming off an off-season surgery. It didn't necessarily go full speed first couple of weeks, and then pow.
He did Saturday.
He's number 1. Casey Henry actually walked out there with Fugar the other day, according to one of Hale's practice reports first. So that's good. That was music to my ears because I still think Casey Henry is going to be really good. It's just been health. But here's the thing about Ja'Kai Moore, too, that I believe. Ja'Kai is a capable offensive tackle at this level. He is a very, very good offensive guard at this level. I think he found his position last year on the interior, and Clint agrees with me. Thank you, Clint. But I think when they can play him on the inside, assuming he is better than Trey Jones in there, and I think he is. I think Trey's a heck of a player, but, I mean, there's a battle in there. And the good news is you got Trey and Wanamaker backing up on the interior. But if you can get more on the inside and you're competent at offensive tackle, I think that's probably your best lineup. And I knew Fugar was coming on a bit. I always kind of thought maybe a year away because since he has 3 years left. Yeah. I mean, he has a long time left. Hughes is definitely not surprising. The day they got him, I was told he's going to be in the 2 deep at least. And so getting him and I was told that was a very, very underrated pickup. And look, he looked pretty good for Charlotte last year. So, that's the deal there. So that wouldn't surprise me. It sounds weird when you say it, but hey, Jalen Nichols, who was going to kind of be the anchor at tackles, out. So what do? You need guys that can get up there and hold the line, so to speak. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if those were 3 transfer starters, man.
Yeah. And as you said, Fugar's got 3 years, and Hughes has 1 more after this. So he's got right. 2 years total. So, those guys could be around for a minute.
Yeah, and that's good because they'll have to hold off Ja'Kai or Josiah Thompson and Cam Pringle next year. They make Cam Pringle's pictures from his dang scrimmage. My God.
He's those guys are yeah. Yeah. All right. John Spencer Rattler, the word is he looks good, but I keep hearing the word comfortable. What does that mean?
It means he's seeing the field well. It means he can play fast, knows where he's going with the football. He's just seeing things. Those were part of the problems early on last year. I think he even mentioned in a press conference that there were times where he wasn't seeing things. And the Arkansas game comes to mind. Like, he made some great throws, he made some bad throws. I think that's the difference now as opposed to this time last year. I think he settled in and got comfortable as some things got changed at the end of last season. But I think he just feels good and is seeing things really well right now.
Dowell Loggins and his offense. Have you learned anything more about that because they're about to turn the page into game prep, probably middle of the week, John, I would imagine Wednesday or so after Shane's press conference on Tuesday. What have you learned about his offense? And overall the chemistry that it's provided in the locker room?
Well, they've moved pretty quick in practices and in the scrimmage on Saturday as well. Saturday night they were up tempo a pretty good bit. Now, what does that mean in terms of what it's going to look like on a Saturday? I mean, I think that's still to be determined. It's a lot easier to practice up tempo and then slow it down a little bit in a game than go the other way. So I do know that they're practicing up tempo a lot, and I think that you're going to see a good bit of that once we get to the season. But it may be the offense functions a little bit better another way. But I think you're going to see a good bit of up tempo. You're not going to see Tennessee tempo, but I think you'll see these guys moving pretty quickly.
How close is the number 2 and number 3 quarterback battle right now?
I'd say really close, really close. Luke Doty's the number 2 guy right now. He went out there he was the first guy to run with the 2s on Saturday. Lenore Sellers got some run with the second team offense though. And from what I understand, he was a little bit better than Doty the other day. So we'll see how it evolves. If something happens with Spencer against North Carolina, I feel pretty confident that Luke Doty will be the first guy out there. That's as we sit here on August 21st. Now, we may be saying something different on October 21st or maybe even September 21st, but it's a really tight battle right now between those two guys, and it's been good. It's been good. Doty's played pretty well, and Norris has shown his traits and his skill set, and he's been incredible. So I think the quarterback position is in good hands.
At the wide receiver position, it's that group keeps getting deeper and deeper. John, what's going on out there? Who's popping?
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. I mean, we know who the main guys are, but then past your Juice Wells and your Marion Browns and your Xavier Legette's, like Omega Blake has had a really good camp. Elijah Caldwell, a true freshman who came in this summer, has had a really good camp. Both of those guys have been good. Tyshawn Russell was actually mentioned to me as having a really good scrimmage. So, I think he's still a little bit too far behind on some of those other guys, but maybe who knows? I don't think he'll be out there in that top 6 against North Carolina, but as things evolve over the course of the season, we'll see how that plays out. But he had a good scrimmage the other day. But yeah, as you mentioned, the more time goes on, the more you hear about another receiver here and there, and that's only good news.
Does that mean that Justin Stepp knows how to recruit? I'm just curious. Are we still questioning that because other guys not?
Yeah, I need to go consult the message borders. On
okay,
that.
all right. I just want to make sure
what's going on.
Take a vote.
Be clear.
Keyboard warriors will have you a good answer on that, I'm sure.
Everybody does, though. On a serious note, want to know if there are any updates to some of the more popular names in the program. Juice Wells, Nick Harbor, of course, come to mind. Anything there?
From what I understand, neither one of those guys scrimmage on Saturday. I was also told those guys, along with Pup Howard, will be ready to go for the opening weekend against North Carolina. I always try to say,
way to go, John. You did it.
Yeah, I always try to say that when it comes to injuries here, I'm never fully confident.
Don't say it.
In the word coming out, but I'm not ruling anybody out, but I'm certainly not betting the house that anybody's definitely in either.
Oh, son of a! You screwed it up, man. We had you teed up to be the hero of the week for Carolina.
I can't do it. I can't be the hero. Not this week.
I'll let you and JC have this conversation here. I think.
Is it about Alanis Morissette songs?
It could be. Do we need to make it about that? We could do that.
I think Taylor Swift needs to cover Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill start to finish.
I never understood half the words she said in her songs, though. I guess if I went back and listened, I'd probably know now. But,
you're an Eric Church fan.
Well, yeah, I'm a Chief guy.
Eric Church is like, you start off with something kind of personal. Then there's a line you can't understand. And then there's a line like it's one of the most American things ever. That's the formula for Chief songs.
Yeah, but I understand all the lines.
But you understand all the lines. Okay. All right. You're special, man. You're special.
So All right,
what's
but
our topic, JB?
Honestly, it's on Nick Harbor. I'm just reading between the lines. I've done zero checking on my end of this, guys. But I think we all knew that it was, as talented as he is as an athlete, it was going to take some time to learn how to be a receiver at this level. Seems like that's kind of fallen right where we at least maybe thought it would from a developmental standpoint. But although there are, we're going to speculate I think everybody's speculating what his impact is going to be on offense. What's his impact on special teams? Because he certainly fits the mold for that.
Yeah, he does certainly fit the mold for that, and I think he can. I think he can be helpful there. Now, that being said, he's missing some time right now with an injury, so that's going to limit his time out there too. And Pete Limbo has an army of guys to work with, so whether he's impactful on day one on special teams or not, I'm not sure, but I think he can certainly be very important there, whether it's blocking kicks or doing something else. I mean, I think he can be really helpful in that area of the game. But with those guys, with so many guys there who can be helpful, I know that Pete Limbo likes his recruiting class from a length standpoint. He's got a bunch of guys who are tall and athletic and long arms, and they can do different things. Like I don't know that they're going to force him out there so quickly.
What are you hearing, JC?
The only thing I heard, Brad had had a long way to go. I haven't heard that. I heard he was progressing pretty quickly before he got hurt. So maybe the injury has sidelined him. It would not surprise me to see him not get a snap against North Carolina, especially if it's a close game, given the time he's missed, because he's a true freshman.
Sure.
But I think as the season goes along, you're going to see him more and more. What I will caution everybody for is, let's say he does take more time than is needed, or not that is needed, than what was expected. You give this guy all the time he wants, man. He's too big and fast. If he takes 6 games, he takes 6 games. He takes the whole damn season, he takes the whole damn season. I don't want to hear anything about, he wasn't really a 5-star. If the guy, if the guy does not go out and catch 25 passes this year, like I think I mentioned during the show a couple of weeks ago. But I think anytime you have an opener like this too, you coaches tend to narrow it a lot. Like some guys that will definitely play later in the year probably won't play against North Carolina just because it's a Power 5 ranked football team you're going to play. And so you kind of rely on your experience with that. But, that's kind of my take on it. If he does have a long way to go, quote unquote, I think it's more the missed time than any kind of skill set issue or something like that. Or hell, maybe he had a bad practice before he, got hurt. But I think the injury is what's keeping him probably from getting the reps needed to be ready to go and part of that big rotation against North Carolina. On the other side of it, Omega Blake has come on.
Yeah.
Omega's doing some big things. So, John, what have you heard about Omega?
Yeah, and I mean, I think the point needs to be made that he was a summer enrollee. Talking about Harbor. Enrollee. I mean, if you were here in January and been through this a little bit, then it may be a little bit different story. But he's missed. He missed at least from Thursday on of camp, so he's missing the end of camp. He misses scrimmage. He's going to miss part of North Carolina game prep. So he hadn't been through all of this before. Like it's going to be a challenge, I think, for him to be impactful at least in game 1 of the season. So that and as JC said, that doesn't mean that anything about his long-term future here at South Carolina. But yeah, Omega and Hale has been all over the wide receiver development. Hale has been talking about Omega Blake and Elijah Caldwell for several weeks dating back into the summer, and those guys have both been really good, and with there seem to be 5 or 6 guys right now just in the wide receiver room who the staff is really comfortable with. And then you throw in the Trey Knoxons and the Josh Simons of the world, and you feel really good about what you have in the receiving department.
Trey Knox is healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call him 100% just yet, but he'll be 100% this week, and he practiced and scrimmaged on Saturday. So yeah, I mean, he's certainly healthy enough to play, and he'll be 100% and ready to rock by really this week, but certainly for North Carolina.
Any thoughts on the new defensive end, the transfer Drew Tuizama from UAB? This has been in the works for a little while, and he has arrived. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, well, JC certainly knows much more about him than I do, but I can tell by looking at his bio that he's a freaking monster. And he's 6'7", 275. Come on. Like, you want that guy being first off the bus, right? So,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, I would. I mean, that's a Clifton Geathers type of body out there.
That's true. That's a good point.
Maybe we can see some of those long arms knock down some passes, or just reach over the offensive tackle and grab the quarterback.
I mean, I don't know. It's way too premature to have a conversation like this. I haven't played a daggum game yet. But, John, I mean, when you actually piece together what they have brought in at the end position, this young man, Jatius Gear, transfer from South Carolina, but, of course, transferred from Syracuse. Both of these guys at one point in time played for Syracuse, which is interesting. Desmond Umeazulu, although he is a freshman, you kind of add those guys to the mix with Jordan Strawn's health. You know, it will be an interesting conversation to have down the road, maybe in a couple of months, about whether this group actually ended up being a little bit better than the group they had last year with Jordan Strawn and Jordan Birch and Gilbert Edmond, who came along very nicely, and all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of those guys were okay players last year, but I don't think that any of us would sit here and call that position a strength. So, you know, you lost a couple of guys to some big name programs, and, you know, maybe it'll be addition by subtraction, just getting some new blood in there with some new guys who can do some different things. And you know, as you mentioned, that those guys have some different skill sets as well. So, you know, and if you don't like what you see out there, you can always slide Tonka Hemingway out there some too. So, you know, they've got some options and different things that they can do to be productive and successful.
Elijah Davis could also possibly be that type of guy as well.
Sure.
To slide outside.
By the way, Brian Thomas, is he not sneaking up on y'all? He's a guy that I continue to hear good things about.
Really good
spring.
Yeah,
he was in the second group the other day at open practice, I believe. So yeah, I mean, he's doing some things too.
That dude can get at the quarterback, man. He's a natural pass rusher. So you can run Rabbits packages now. If you have a 260-pound, 280-pound DN, you can slide inside, all this good stuff. So it's and look, here's something that should excite people too. Let's say Tuizama comes back next year because he does have another year. You're only losing Jordan Strawn and Tyree Johnson out of that room, and you're replacing him with Dylan Stewart and whoever else you get. But Dylan Stewart's sort of one of those freshmen that I don't think we're going to be talking about. Oh, he just needs time. Maybe. But the book on him is he's extremely polished and can step on and play college football right now. So, hey, this is the present and future. Things are looking up, right? Things are looking up.
Yeah. A lot of what's going on and what we're hearing is about offense coming out of camp and, you know, all the little nuggets about what's going on that side. And there's not been much said about what's happening defensively. Should we read anything into that?
I mean, that's a fair question, and I'm not real sure how to answer it because most of my nuggets have been on the offensive side of the ball. You know, Patrick DiMarco on here this next segment. Maybe that's a good question for Patrick. So, you know, I don't know how to read into that. You know, the little tidbits I pick up are typically on the offensive side. I think that's what a lot of folks like to hear about because we've been so bad at offense around here for a long time, almost regardless of sport. So. but yeah, so I get old DiMarco to chime in on that one.
Okay, all right, we'll defer to the second half on that.
No, James is freaking out now because he asked about the defense earlier. I've heard the defense has had a good camp.
I have too. I've heard they've had a good
normal. Camp. And how I look, the two times Carolina's been like really, really bad defensively. 2014 and 2020. All those camps I heard offense is going up and down the field. Offense is going to be good. Offense is good. And one of those offenses was record setting. One was.
Yeah, it was the best in the history of the program.
Yeah. So
2014.
But those were bad defenses. And so I think
they're awful.
I think it's always positive and the defense, by all accounts, in the first scrimmage was better, and then the offense bounced back. So it's been kind of normal. So, but yeah, don't worry about that. Just because the tidbits have come on offense, I think there's probably, in fairness, a lot more question marks on offense. I mean, who are we really? All right, so maybe like there's a Pup Howard if he was healthy, Debo Williams battle at linebacker. How healthy is Mo Kaba? Fortune and Dial are starting at corner. DQ and Nick are starting at safety. Boogie and Tonka are going to be your starting D tackles, or Sanders is going to slide in. Strong has had – so I think I am calling for and looking for this defense to really maybe take a step forward this year, perhaps a significant one.
I hope you're right.
I mean, I do agree with everything you said there.
John, we got to let you run on that note. Pat is due up next, and we're on a tight timeline with him. But next week we'll actually get to talk about a dadgum football game, and we can't wait for that. So in the meantime, enjoy the opening weekend of college football. At least it gives us something, and we know you, like the rest of us, are greatly looking forward to the Hawaii Vanderbilt game. So.
Yes, absolutely. Can't wait.
Make sure we ask you about Kingston's extension next week because we didn't.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, we didn't. We'll just bring you back on Friday.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, John. There you go, John Whittle with the Big Spur. Got to go. Pat DiMarco up next, right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. You hear me and see me every day here on Inside the Gamecocks, and it would be an honor to earn your business. I've been around real estate my entire life, as it's somewhat of a family business. I work with an elite team of experts from loans to insurance to closing, and they make my clients and my life very easy. It really is elite. Coast to Coast Realty SC.com is where you can find our staff, and you can always reach out to me here as well. Go Gamecocks.
Coach O here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight off the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning. It'll melt in your mouth. It's good on a cracker. It's good in a bowl. It's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
It's time for Talkin Ball with Pat DiMarco on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
For those of you under a certain age, Pat DiMarco played a position called fullback. Pretty damn good at it. And we're happy to have him here talking ball with us this afternoon. How you doing, Pat?
I am good. Just got out of the gym. Don't be surprised if you see a comeback coming here in the next. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that.
Hey, all right, yeah, you look good, man.
Oh, man. Atta boy. Hey, I just
maybe some rec flag football around the corner for me.
We could get on with Flint's team in Mount Pleasant.
It's a long drive. How much are they paying?
We'll send big funds jet.
Hey, the Chicago Gamecock Club. I didn't know this because I'd have been up there for this. They have like an SEC flag football tournament.
Oh wow!
In Chicago for all the alumni associations up there. I can still play a little center.
We had our alumni game before the spring game, and you can get Garcia, Mo Brown, Perry Orr. I don't know. Would you really carry a fullback? But me and Brewer, I guess, two of the. I mean, that's a gritty team. I don't know if it's going to do well in 7-on-7 though.
I was about to say.
I don't know. I think these are just fans, man. We showed up with all those guys.
Yeah.
I think first prize was like $1,000 or something. So it was pretty. I had no idea there was even such a thing until I saw it on social media the other day. So,
give me Brewer. Dude's still a competitor, man. He competes about literally anything.
I saw him at the Hammond game. What was it? On Friday night, and he was talking about how he'll put his soccer cleats on and compete with the girls. His girls are really good soccer players at Hammond. He's like, I'll throw the cleats on and I'll push and shove with them, and I'll see how tough they really are.
Yeah, but they got the girls got their athleticism from Liz, not Ryan.
I completely agree.
And their looks. No offense, Rhino, if you're watching. All right, Pat. So final week of camp, kinda. I mean, they'll pretty much with the game next Saturday. When are they going to kind of turn the page to game prep? Wednesday?
I would imagine they'll probably do one or two more camp practices, like kind of just. It might be more geared towards the younger guys to see who's willing to answer the bell. Mm-hmm. But I would say probably come Tuesday, Wednesday, they'll probably start installing for North Carolina. I mean, that's what we did when I was with the Bills and Falcons. The fourth preseason game would always be a kind of a young guy, and it's 2 weeks before the first game would be a young guy game, and then you'd install with the starters and the guys that are probably going to make the roster. So you get 2 weeks of install, 2 weeks of getting kind of familiar with the plays that are going to be called. So I would imagine middle of this week they'll start installing and getting ready for North Carolina.
Okay, so I think one of the things that's been asked in a variety of ways around here already in the program, and then going back to last week, they've already scrimmaged twice. That's it. The next time they play a game is the Tar Heels. Is there a general rule of thumb as to what side of the ball is ahead of the other, kind of as you start to wind camp down?
Well, I mean, we talked about it last week. The first couple of days, like it's a lot easier for a 3 technique or a defensive end just to scream upfield and say, screw my gap integrity. I'm just going to haul butt up the field and just cause havoc. But I think as you get kind of familiar with the guy next to you and familiar with scheme and how the OC is going to call it and how the O-line coach wants to block it, depth and timing, quarterback, receiver, I think it starts to – the playing field's probably evened out by now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's probably a head-to-head battle back and forth. I imagine, and I know Coach Beamer just from being there the last 2 years, he does competitive periods. And I would imagine it's probably offense, defense. They blend a decent amount. Some days the offense wins, some days the defense wins. I imagine they're probably doing a lot of situational football, so getting ready for the 2-minute situations, the 4-minute, the end of games, the hurry-up field goals, kind of polishing the game plan stuff. I mean, shoot, when I was – Buffalo was absolutely incredible about this, but we practiced a certain situation every single day before practice. And it was walk-through-ish, so you weren't full speed sprinting, but it would be, hey, we're down 4 with 38 seconds left with the ball on our minus 30-yard line. So you have to score a touchdown. You have 2 timeouts. Let's see how it plays out. And the defense was always told, hey, nobody's warmed up, so you can't make a competitive play on the ball. If it's a ball in the air, we don't want anybody getting tangled up, hurt. But you get those reps. And, I mean, I tell you what, like my third, fourth year in Buffalo, the situational football was like rapid fire. I mean, we saw the Chiefs, saw the Bills-Chiefs game. I mean, was it 3 years ago? I mean, that's just that situational football, back and forth, back and forth.
By the way, let me interject this real quick, too. Drake May named a preseason second-team All-American by the AP. Kai Kroger, the punter for the Gamecocks, also on that team. So Kai is going to try to make Dre throw it out of his own end zone, essentially, to score coming up here in a couple of Saturdays.
Is the guy from Iowa first?
Second. You talking about the punter?
Yeah.
You know what?
Doesn't Kai have
that's a pile of crap.
It is. Torrey Taylor. Yeah,
the worst offense in the country by a mile. Iowa did last year.
Yeah.
You don't think your punter's going to be pretty good? I mean, Kai won a game against the top anyway. Pat, so they got Drew Tuizama in now. He just got there. In the NFL, and I know there's much more time in practice every day than you have in college, so it's going to take longer weeks-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Guys get traded and they come in. And if they're – and this kid's not a vet. I mean, this kid's not a freshman. I think it's his fourth college. He's old. What's your realistic take on how long it's going to take him to be a guy that can go play in a game, knowing that he's come in at this stage?
Shoot, I mean, I would imagine. I mean, in the NFL, you get called on Monday, you're expected to play on Sunday. You get 6 days and you're thrown in the fire. I mean, it's a different game because you're hired and fired, bam, right there on the spot. But I would imagine he's going to be acclimated and ready to go come 2 Saturdays. It's now the whole plethora of playbooks and pressures and dropping into coverage and all the different things. They'll probably have a leash for him on certain things he can do, set the edge, run TE games. They'll put him in. It's the same thing we talked about with Dow. He's going to, just like Clayton White's going to put him in to succeed in situations where he knows what to do, how to do it. So I would imagine just being he's 6'4", 6'5", 275. I mean, that's an immediate edge right there. I mean, he put him in there first and second down, say, hey, keep outside leverage, nothing gets inside of you. The guard comes, go hit him in his freaking neck and shut the hole down right there. Or, hey, quarterback rolls out, I want you to take on that back. I want you to run him right back into the quarterback, certain stuff like that. I think he'll be able to come in and contribute right away, especially to a thin position like we have at DN. So, I mean, that's a great ad. I mean, any guy with experience and exposure and playing big-time Division I football, I mean, you take those guys all day, every day.
That's a great question by JC, too. And expanding on that a little bit here, Pat, you've got probably a couple of guys you could circle and say that they're the big old traditional SEC run stoppers on this team, if you'd like. Nick Barrett certainly, comes to mind. TJ Sanders, a couple of big guys in there. But outside of that, they're all seemingly in really good shape, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 300 pounds. And here's another guy who kind of falls into that mold a little bit, although he's at end. When you the last couple of years, well, beyond that, the last few years, South Carolina has struggled greatly to stop the run, or let's say just slow down the run. They don't have to stop it, just slow it down and give yourselves a chance. Can you walk us through what type of player kind of succeeds in the SEC on the interior there? Are there chances where big guys like Tuizama, who JC just mentioned, could kind of slide inside? I mean, what does it take to be an elite player at that position? Do you have to be 330 pounds? I mean, what does that mean?
I mean, depends on the skill set you have and the tools you have. I mean, you look at Aaron Donald, he's the fraction of a 1%, at 285, whatever he weighs. I mean, he takes the shirt off and looks like he's 220, but he plays at probably around 290. I mean, he's the type of, when you think about stopping the run, it is gap integrity. That's all it is. There's a hat for each gap. And as an offense, all you're trying to do, or at least all we tried to do when we were an attacking team, was to get one guy out of gap. So whether it's cutting the outside leg of a guy who has contain, or whether it's the defensive end supposed to wrong arm you, but you're able to get your inside shoulder in, you're able to get your hat across and kind of peel them out. I mean, it's gap integrity. So, I mean, it's math, right? I mean, there needs to be somebody in the A gap, there needs to be somebody in the B gap, there needs to be somebody in the C gap. If the DN spills, he has the C gap, but the safety has to come fit the D gap outside. So, you don't have to, there's no make model to succeed at that position. I mean, interior, you definitely want to have just a big old mean, strong joker who's good with his hands. But at the end of the day, it's a man whoop a man game. And you're getting a lot of double teams at 3 technique there. So you got to be able to anchor and hold up. I mean, I think back to when I was in Atlanta, we had a guy named Paul Soliai who played at Miami. He played for the Carolina Panthers. He was 350 and he could probably ran 5 flat. But I mean, it took 2 jokers to block him every single play. And because of that, Paul Warlow and Sean Witherspoon and those guys at the second level were running scot-free. So you either got to be a guy who takes 2, or you need to be a guy that can win his one-on-one matchup and shed the block and eyes in my gap, see the defensive or see the running back bounce, shed, get off, and make a play. You see that I still got a little bit of wiggle in my head, not much else, but.
Okay. On that note, you're talking about gap integrity and things of that nature. Linebackers come into play heavily in this, especially in the SEC. What does it take to play linebacker in the SEC, and what do we have here at Carolina that you know of, at least?
I mean, the biggest thing is brains, man. That position, you're essentially the quarterback of the defense. You're shifting the defensive line. If there's motion, wherever the tight end set up, I know a lot of strength of formation is based on tight end, but is the tight end attached? Is he detached? Is he off the ball? Is he a fallback guy? Because if the tight end goes and slice backside, well, now you got 2 extra gaps on the backside. So now the linebackers have to bounce back, and there's a lot of different fit creations, and that was kind of what Kyle Shanahan and all those wide zone schemes have done. Is they're moving tight ends and they're moving receivers, these jet sweeps and the slices and all this stuff. It's just adding gaps left and right. So it's being able to adjust. And then, like, I love Debo Williams. Like, he is just a downhill joker. And like when I'm playing fullback, when I'm watching tape, I'm like, all right, this guy's a downhill guy. He's a box player. He's a quick trigger. He sees A-gap open. A-gap's his. He's running a 40-yard dash through his hole. And, I mean, Debo Williams I used to talk to him all last year. I was like, dude, you are disruptive. Keep being disruptive. Play downhill. Blow it up. You see guards pulling. Just create a pile in the hole, because what my running backs coach in Atlanta, Bobby Turner, used to always say is color scares the back. So if it's an A-gap run, I mean, if you see color, I mean, you see a linebacker fly in there, nosedive, take out the guard, take out the center, and there's just bodies, you just got to start skipping. And as you skip, you're bouncing outside. Safety's able to flow, and it's giving him time to get downhill and make that play at the line of scrimmage instead of running back hitting the A-gap a million miles an hour. And now the safety's having to make a play at 7 yards where he's coming to balance, and the running back has a 2-way go on him. So, I mean, I like a downhill linebacker who's going to blow stuff up, who's good with his hands. But you got to be instinctive, because you have to see everything. You have to see the flow of the back. You have to see the flow of the tight ends. You have to see the motions and where the tight end alignment is. You're the quarterback of the defense. So it's tough, and especially with but I mean, I think we got guys, Ben Martin Scott, Mo Kaba, Stone Blanton. I'm probably missing a few.
Pup.
Yeah, Pup. I mean, Pup's a freshman, but he's a freshman who is in for our bowl game. So he has 9 months of kind of knowledge of the game and knowledge of this defense under his belt. So I think these guys will pick it up at a high level, and I'm excited to see him play.
Yeah, this is, man, I don't even know. I'm not even going to attempt to do it. This is as deep, I feel like, of a linebacking core as we've had around here in a while. I keep, for whatever reason, I mentioned this last week to Phil and JC, Pat, when I think of Debo Williams, he always makes me think of Shaq Wilson for some reason. Now, you think I'm off base there, or do you see any comparisons?
I would say he's a Shaq Wilson junior year, senior year. Yes. Shaq Wilson freshman, sophomore year was about 220 and was a sideline to sideline, extremely smart football player. Shaq is one of the smartest football players I had played with during my time in South Carolina, from just a defensive responsibility. He came in his freshman year. He was 191 pounds or 198 pounds and played middle linebacker as a true freshman in the SEC. That's a dog.
Shaq was good, man.
I mean, and he grew in size and he grew in his athleticism and all this stuff. So I would say freshman, sophomore year, he was smaller, but very instinctive, great coverage linebacker. And then his junior, senior year, he kind of molded more into the Mike linebacker. Hey, I got the box. I'll get all you guys else. I'll get everybody else on the same page, but tackle to tackle, this is my territory, my area.
Yeah, and that's what I was referencing him later because Shaq did get bigger. I didn't realize he was that light though when he got to Carolina. All right, Pat, let's talk about Spencer for a minute here because again, they're about to kind of turn the page and get into the start getting into the game planning for the Tar Heels next week. I did not realize this, by the way, and JC, you probably have a lot more information than I do. We'll talk about it next week in previewing the ball game. Not all these guys were starters, but North Carolina lost 15 players from their defense alone to the portal last year, which is stunning. I know that they added a few as well, but that's a lot. So, Rattler, I mentioned this to John Whittle a little while ago, and the reporting that continues to come back from no names like J.C. Sherbert and Whittle and others. I'm just kidding, J.C. You know that. The word that keeps coming out of camp with Spencer is comfortable, Pat. Comfortable. He's comfortable. He's comfortable. He's comfortable. And there's really nobody out there who can explain this better than you could. Spencer went as far as to say in an interview a little bit over a week ago that this offense, quote, suits me better. So you hear that? He's comfortable. What does that tell you about this guy who's been around a while and he's got an offensive coordinator who certainly knows what a quarterback looks like that should be in the NFL?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dow, you'd be sitting here and you'd be wrong if you didn't think Dow did his homework before he took the job here on Spencer. He knew what his strengths were. Dow had options. So if you didn't think that he knew what he was getting into and knew how he wanted to cater the offense and make this thing work, it's a quarterback-driven league. I was a running back, but it's a quarterback-driven league in any way, shape, or form. So you have to cater it to him. And I would say comfortable is a word, but I think a better word for that would be confident. So, yes, comfortable, but also confident in what he's doing and confident in the guy making the play calls and confident in the guys up front and confident that if it's 1st and 10 and we're trying to stay ahead of the sticks, that he can spit a swing pass out to Juju or AB or one of these guys, and he can trust that he's going to get him to second and manageable. Comfortable, confident. I think it's those go pretty similar hand in hand, but for me, it was confidence was a mother. And it really carried me forward in my game. And I would imagine that's what Spencer's kind of leading into. And you also got to think he's more confident in the guys around him. He's more confident in his film sessions, and he's more confident in being in Columbia, South Carolina, and expectations and all these things. So I think he's set up to have a huge year. I always really enjoyed my interaction with him. He's a really, really sharp young man, professional through and through. I think big things are coming, and he's just the big thing for him is, because he is such a playmaker, is just take what's there. When you try to do too much, that's when some bad stuff happens. So comfortable, confident, but also play within the game. Take what's in front of you, take what's there. That was something that was always echoed by every single coach I had in the NFL. Was you get in trouble early on when you start to think you can make every single pass, make every single play, and one or two don't go your way, and then you're playing from behind the sticks or behind the scoreboard. So early on, it's about playing smart football, not beating yourself, not turning the ball over, playing penalty-free football, and just being efficient on 1st and 2nd down, putting yourself in 3rd and manageable situations. I was watching some preseason NFL football games with Weston on Saturday, and you sit there and you're watching something. I'm like, oh, they should burn a timeout. They should burn a timeout. Oh, why did they burn a timeout? Just certain situational things. That's what the preseason for. That's what these scrimmages are for, to find out where your holes are, find out what you need to get better at. And then just stack days, get 1% better each day.
Pat, are you familiar enough with Lenora Sellers to say whether or not he's too great an athlete to keep off the field in some even a limited capacity this year?
I mean, just looking at him and watching from the outside, just watching his presence, like he is a Cam Newton-esque body type, athletic ability, physicality. The quarterback position is extremely tough, as we all know, extremely demanding from a mental standpoint, from an athletic standpoint. But from everything I see, he's wired right. He's locked in. He's developed relationships with the players, with the coaches. He's done everything to put himself in a situation that he probably has earned an opportunity to get a couple plays here and there and show what he can do. I mean, I think he's a heck of a talent. He was a great get for us. I mean, watching him come in for spring ball and what he did in the spring game, just from being able, like, you got to think he was deer in headlights for a portion of that stuff too. But just his athletic playmaking ability is so far above what other guys can do. I was watching this thing, Luke Kuechly on social media was talking about how just underrated Cam was and how he kind of changed the game. And I'm sitting there, playing for the Falcons and sitting on the sideline and watching Cam. I mean, if they get in 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, like, we might as well not even play this down. The next play is going to be a first down. They're going to run a quarterback power, and they're going to have an extra hat. And say the safety's unblocked. Good luck blocking 260, running a 4.4 right through the hole. No, I think he's going to be an asset for us. I think he, I don't want to put words in everybody's mouth, but I could definitely see him being the future of Carolina football, at least with big upside and a lot of excitement around him.
12:24, Pat DiMarco on this Monday. It is our final Monday, thank God, of 2023 without Gamecock football playing a football game. So we're pretty giddy about that, Pat. We talked earlier. The offensive line had a couple of changes per reports this weekend in the scrimmage. Jackson Hughes, a transfer from the Charlotte 49ers who played Williams-Brice last year, was in there at JC, left tackle, right? He was in there at left tackle. And Ja'Kai Moore had slid down to left guard. And Nick Gargiulo was at – where was Gargiulo? At right tackle?
Guard. They put him at right guard, and then Fugar was at right tackle. So
and Vershawn was still at center, right?
Vershawn's still center, yeah.
Okay. And seemingly things went well. I guess what I'm getting at here is we've got Shane said months ago they're looking at it to have 8 guys. They want to have 8 guys. We can roll them out there, and they're going to be might have 8 guys. Pat, I think they feel pretty good about 5, 6, 7, maybe 8.
You say that, and I don't hear names like Casey Henry and Trey Jones and Tyshawn Wanamaker. Guys that have played meaningful snaps for Carolina already. So if those 5 they think are the core starters, then you also got just those 3 names I dropped that have played ball in the SEC. I think that's a good place to start. And like I said last week, like kind of getting your feel and getting your feet wet for the offensive line. Like, it takes time, like understanding how the double teams are going to work, where the aiming points are, communication, triggers. But that's all stuff that, like, I know I praised Lonnie Teasley last week, and I'll praise him again. Like, he is so darn good at that stuff and getting those guys in sync. So, and Greg Atkins, you get 2 full-time coaches in that position. So I think those guys will be greased up and ready to go.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
No, just quick follow-up, JC. I'll let you take it from here. If you let's say that next week there are 3 starters on the offensive line who are transfers: Gargiulo from Yale, Hughes from Charlotte, and Fugar from Western Illinois. By the way, Sidney Fugar, pretty sure one time ate like an entire cow, like not just parts of it. Like I think he just shoved the whole. He is enormous. Yeah, If you have 3 transfers in there who have never played outside of practice and a few scrimmages together, and you mentioned the time that comes together, what's important to keep that coming or to make it come together as fast as it can? And I guess what I'm getting, my understanding is have a quarterback, which they do, have a center, which I feel like they do with Vershawn Lee. So how would you summarize that?
Yeah, it's meeting room time, it's walkthrough time, It's full speed, game reps, like scout team stuff, getting the actual looks you're going to get. I mean, it comes with time, and I mean, you got 2 weeks to really staple that down. If they think they got the best 5 out there right now, I mean, in my opinion, if you think that's the best 5, run with that 5 and let that 5 get confident together. And then after game 1, if there's holes, if there's areas that you think you can get better at, I mean, have those guys ready to go in and fire. But I think guys will play best if they know where they stand, and guys can go out there and be confident and not, like, I hated playing within the back of my mind. I'm like, man, if I screw up, like, they got so-and-so waiting to replace me right now. Because once you start playing timid, you start patting your feet, start thinking too much. You start thinking, instead of just go a million miles an hour and trust my rules, you start playing like, let me make sure I protect myself here so I don't get beat here. And you're not playing fast. You're not playing confident. So, I mean, I say that outside speaking in. I mean, those guys have a lot more intel, and they kind of understand where things are and how it's going to shake out. But I just know personally from my stance, I enjoyed and I respected working with coaches that were completely transparent with me and let me know where I was. Hey, Pat, you're probably number 54 on the 53-man roster right now. I really need to see something from you this last preseason game for you to earn your spot. Yes, sir. Thank you for being honest with me. I'm going to go bust my tail this week because I want to be on this team. I think I've earned a spot. You can trust me, yada, yada, yada. So, hopefully they're having those conversations and these guys can go out there and have peace of mind knowing that, hey man, I can play free. I can have fun, because that's when you're going to play at your highest levels, when you're having fun and playing for the guy to your left and your right.
What idiot had you at 54? You guys should be fired.
Shoot. I mean, that was my first 3 years in the NFL. I was sitting there and I'm like looking over my shoulder, like
trying to figure it out.
It goes from 90 to 75, and I'm turning around looking. I'm like, all right, I'm better than him, better than him, better than him. I'm like, all right, I'm in the top 60. So here we go.
Oh, yeah.
7 of the rest of us are going to be odd man out. It's time to work.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm going to slash this guy's tires. He is not going to make it into camp tomorrow.
He's going to be late for the team meeting. I'm going to tell him it starts at 8:05 when it starts at 8.
Yep, that's right.
You just set his time zone back on that. Put him in Central Time if you're in Eastern or something like that.
You're gonna be like the guy from Tin Cup. You're gonna be the caddy. You need to go get drunk. You know, make him late the next morning. Hit chili peppers at Lee Jansen's ass. That's what we need. Go ahead, JC. I cut you off 4 minutes ago, man. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was just gonna make a comment. I think Ja'Kai Moore, Pat, is a better guard. I think he's a solid tackle. I think he's a much better guard. I thought he kind of found a home there last year down the stretch, and wanted to get your take on it. You also mentioned Casey Henry. He kind of walked out there first for practice the other day, according to Hale's report, and so maybe there's a battle with him and Hughes. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know that when healthy, they thought a lot with him. So what can you really tell us about those two guys?
Yeah, I mean, I know Ja'Kai's played a bunch of football. I mean, he played as a freshman, played as a sophomore, played as a junior. I mean, he's battled some injuries and he's had some bad luck happen his way, but he's got a lot of experience. And I can tell you this, you're a lot more protected at guard than you are at tackle. So unless you really have your home run sure thing out there at tackle, you can protect people at guard. I mean, you got a guy to your left. There are a lot of moving parts, pulling and kind of that sense and relaying the communication aspect. So, full trust and Dow on those guys and going to do what's best for those guys. But, I think Ja'Kai at either way, he's played a lot of football. I think they're probably putting him where he is most likely to succeed and play his best. Mm-hmm. So guard, tackle. I mean, I love that kid. He spent a lot of time in my office last year, just diving in, getting to know each other, spending life together, growing together from on a personal level. So, I hope all the best for him. And I know good big things are ahead for him. He's a great, great kid. I love that kid.
I got to know him a little bit at the events we had for Carolina Rise. And I mean, he's had some bad stuff go his way, but he's an overcomer. And I like that about him. But Casey Henry, he's another kind of young guy, but people have been talking about him. What do you know about Casey? Because he's kind of a guy our audience probably isn't as familiar with because he redshirted last year.
Yeah, I mean, Casey kind of has has a little bit of that dog in him, and that I really like. And I noticed that. I mean, that's just something. I don't know if it's just my intuition or just being around football for so long. Like I can watch one or two practices and watch how somebody fires off the ball, and I'm like, he's got it or he doesn't. I mean, that's just something I see pretty tight and instinctively. And granted, that's just a very small part of the makeup. There's a lot of technical, but if you're willing to fire off the ball and not blink your first snap in the SEC, first practice, whatever it is, like I can work with you. Now, if you're blinking 6 times before that snap, you might have great technique, but you still got that blink in your eye. So, and Kaysen was somebody that I think from some conversations I had with him last year, like he wants to take on leadership roles. He has kind of that growth potential and has that, hey, if you're not holding your weight, I'm going to get in your face and I'm going to, hey, man, like carry your weight, man. We're only as strong as our weakest link. So pick your stuff up. And that's all stuff that comes in building a team and developing that team. And Kaysen's got that dog in him. I mean, I saw that spark in his eye. I saw him get pissed at practice. I saw that type of stuff. So he is definitely a high ceiling guy. Is he ready to play right now in the SEC? I don't know. I haven't been out of practice, but last year there was a lot of promising stuff I saw in him.
Pat, we'll let you run on that note, my man. Next week, I got good news for you. We get to talk about an actual football game.
Let's go.
Where they play 15-minute quarters, 2 halves, the whole 9 yards, the ball, the tee, the players. We get to talk about all that stuff. And certainly looking forward to that. And one of the things we'll mix in next week as well with you pertaining to that ball game and every other ball game is South Carolina's special teams. I actually yesterday I went back and watched the end of the Clemson game, and you didn't win that game without special teams in that one. What a day. The best special teams in college football, hopefully again returning under Pete Limbo and Shane Beamer. Have a great week, man. Can't wait to get into it again next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me as always.
Always. You're the man. You know that. There you go. The great Pat DiMarco, Talkin Ball with Pat DiMarco. We are powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. I got good news for both of you. Finally getting my rower this week. I went and saw Michelle over the weekend.
Yeah, talking it up.
You've been talking about that rower for about 6 months now.
I know. I went and finally picked it out. It's coming this week. They're delivering it. I mean,
my mother got an electric bike.
Can I tell you how cool the Wilkins are? They allow you to walk your dog, and like if you want to bring your dog into the store because it's combined electric bikes and Charleston Fitness equipment. All right. And so this couple walks their dog in there. Two dogs. These little yappers. That's what I call them. And one of them goes and takes a crap on the floor by one of the big pieces of workout equipment. Wow. And I looked over, and the lady it was her dog. She said, "Oh, yeah, I know why he did that because the mat that's underneath the equipment there, it's green. He thought it was grass." Yeah. Well, regardless of what he thought it was, if you don't mind, would one of you please pick up the poop? Jeez. Because we got customers in here.
Yeah, clean up.
Dogs are colorblind. That's
that's what she said. Whatever.
I don't know. Blaming somebody else. The dog's
probably didn't allow your dog to go before you walked in the damn store.
The dog's in a new place. He's probably a little nervous,
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're nervous, you poop sometimes.
Oh, he circled the area, squatted, and he was ready to go. I mean, he had the thing all mapped out. So, keep it in mind if you want to go get yourself a bike or you want to get some workout equipment to put in your home, whatever it is, your dog is allowed to poop in their building as long as you buy something nice. So just
I'd feel bad if I walked in there and I got shanghaied into buying like a $1,700 piece of equipment because Red took a crap in the store.
Compelled to.
My mother actually, I went to see my mom yesterday. I actually hung out with Phil all weekend in Greenville. It's kind of fun.
I know y'all are both here, which is even better.
But anyway, I went to my brother's yesterday to go swimming, and hang out with my mom and all my nephews and nieces. Ooh. And she's bought an electric bike.
All right.
But not from Electric Bikes. It's just another one. But I could. She didn't call me first, right? She should have. But she got an electric tricycle.
Yeah, those things
with
are
a basket
sweet,
on it because she has terrible knees, right? And so they're going camping down in Hunting Island. And she's like, "Well, the place to go take a shower is like 2 miles from the site, and my knees can't handle it." So she's going to be driving this electric tricycle. She said the thing goes 40 miles an hour on a tricycle.
40?
Burning it up. Yeah.
That's like the Wicked Witch of the West. You remember that? Because it has a little basket on it, like the Wizard of Oz. Wow. But I'm sure you can get something like that from Michelle and gang at Electric Bikes.
Oh, they have everything.
Certainly are happy that they're one of our best sponsors of the show. She also is a contributor, her business to Carolina Rise.
Die-hard Gamecock.
I appreciated that.
We talked ball for an hour. Seriously. I just sat there and kept talking about football with her. And then she was like, do you want to get the rower or what? I was like, oh, yeah. You know what? I'm sitting on it. Might as well.
Talking about this thing for 8 months.
Sweetest people ever, man. They're the best. So, if you even if you don't want to ride a bike, if you want to stay in shape, they literally have anything you could dream of to put in your home. Treadmill, whatever it is. Telling you, they're the best. Electric Bikes, Charleston.com. All right, got to hit a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. At Nana's Porch, they cater weddings, parties, and all kinds of special events. Their meals are served buffet style. In seconds, they're encouraged. Plus, they can bring their mobile food unit to bring on-site and serve your guests as a unique alternative for your catering needs. Inquire about rentals as well. nanasporch.com. Find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. 336-259-7550.
If you're on Medicare currently or approaching eligibility, it's time to enroll in a Medicare plan that meets your needs. Palmetto Medicare is here to help you through the process. Palmetto Medicare's owner, Brian Spencer, and his team of experts are here to assist you. Learn about the benefits and enroll in a plan that will cover as many of your medical costs as possible. Some of the advantages of Medicare health plans may include variety of plan choices, increased benefits, lower premiums, and more. Give Palmetto Medicare a call to discuss your insurance and help get the exact coverage for your needs today.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer. Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. electricbitescharleston.com, or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bites of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Bites of Charleston! Electric Bites of Charleston! Electric Bites of Charleston! Electric Bites of Charleston! Bites of Charleston!
Welcome back. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We are here on a Monday before games actually start to count.
All right, those of you that are in the chat box right now, roll call. Who's going to Charlotte?
Trying to get a head count. We need to know how much pimento cheese the Tilkers to bring.
No, we ain't giving away my pimento cheese now. This crap already happened to me once. This is not happening again. Don't tell anybody that it's going to be there. That's it.
Hey, Breakin' 70 said he's new. Give him some love. Here's some love, Breakin'.
What's up, Breakin'?
We'll give you the old heart. Julie's headed to Charlotte. There you go.
This hat will be in Charlotte. I will give it to someone who's lucky.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a few of those I need to give away, as a matter of fact.
The Chief hat. It don't fit Jamie's head. I got 12 specifically for Jamie in case he wanted to wear all 12. Didn't measure his head.
Make sure you've downloaded the Chief Sports app. Tell your friends about it as well. Those of you, by the way, who were using it on Friday night, check your high school scores. Hope that made things easier on you. Zach is in. Zach is going to be in Charlotte as well. So Will doesn't care. What are you hearing about Braswell? You know what I feel is funny? I'm going to pick on some guys here and some guys who are some of our long-time listener, first-time callers, like Craig and those guys. About every day, there's a question of, well, I hadn't heard about this receiver. I hadn't heard about that receiver. I haven't heard about this. Guys, I can't play them all. They ain't all going to play. I wish this guy was. Well, if that guy's playing, then guess what? What's the flip side of that? If Kylie Horton is in there playing, then guess what? Somebody else ain't playing. And then the question is, why isn't that guy playing? They can only play up to 5 at a time. So
I also want people to keep in mind too. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not time to give up on Kylie Horton yet. I mean, Omega Blake is in year 3?
And by the way, I'm totally tongue-in-cheeking it with you, Greg and all these guys.
I want these guys to ask questions about players because
absolutely
they know they're the group of the part of the fan base that knows who Kylie Horton is.
Exactly.
Right? There's some guys, some folks with season
awesome?
tickets. There's different. We went through this when we had 24/7 sports. When we were talking about okay, who do we need to reach as a company? Because we had rivals, and that was kind of your diehards, right? Well, how do we expand that to your sort of more casual people that, because there's 80,000 people that show up at a game. Mm-hmm. And there's a group of the fans that, they got season tickets, they're diehard, but they really just care about the game. They don't follow it like the recruiting. They don't know the 4 deep like these guys do. They know the starters, and they'll read the preview magazines and maybe these days get on a website and read an article or something. But it's it's one of those things. And so those folks are the ones that may listen to our show, but maybe not. So I do like the people that, ask about Braswell. Braswell's 14.
Yeah, he's 14.
14 right now. But that doesn't mean he's not going to make it.
That mean, he's going to play at some point in time. He's going to play.
Yeah. So, and the scrimmage break-in went, we did talk about it. Offense was better. It's just like you want it. The offense to be better, come back that second scrimmage.
Breaking, if you're just tuning in, go back and listen to John Whittle, who joined us in hour number 1 with a big breakdown of that. And certainly, if you missed Pat DiMarco and what he had to say, Lance is coming to the tailgate, but he doesn't know where it is.
Lance,
where you been, man?
We're going to get you there.
On your website.
Oh, sweet. Nah, all right. Lance, just Google it, and we'll see you in Charlotte there, my man. All right, so coming up this weekend again with college football set to go. Before, the week 0. Excuse me, week 0. I wish they get away from that. Just call it week 1. Because it's not week 0. That's impossible. It can't be week 0. It's week 1. Next week would be, you know what? This is going to blow your minds, but everybody calm down. Week 2. It's amazing what happens here.
Give it a good name, like this is week prime, and then it's week. That because 0. What is it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, come on,
week 1.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like I'm sick and tired of this week 0 crap that we've been dealing with. Somebody came up with this. Some doofus decided to do this years ago. It was like, well, I tell you what, next week I think it's technically week 1, but there are games this weekend. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna call it week 0, and then it's like everything else in America. People just fell in line. Well, I guess it's week 0. We'll just go with that. Oh, okay. Even the major networks, nobody could step up and be like, nah, dude, you're an idiot. Can you not count as week 1? It's the first week that football is being played. Next week's the second week that football is being played. Whatever. Regardless of all that, who cares? First of all, both of you will be watching, right?
Oh, yeah.
JC, I know you'll be watching Notre Dame.
I'll have to.
You got to watch.
I'll get whipped incessantly with the cat of 9 tails.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do either one of you think that game could be close?
It's Navy, so you never
Navy know. Notre Dame. Yeah, that one I think is going to be more competitive than and Hawaii Vanderbilt.
Oh, I agree with that. I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Navy fired it. Navy's athletic director is a big duty head, by the way. He fired Ken Tonlamolo or whatever right on the field after the Army game last year, right? Because they lost to Army. And they shouldn't have done that to that guy. I mean, they don't spend any money up there. The other service academies have made policies that make it more friendly to football, all this other stuff. So, I thought it was unfair to fire him, especially in the way they did. And he was just pissed off they lost to Army, right? But they promoted from within, so they're not really changing anything. Like, there's still a triple option football team. There's still, if you're not ready for that stuff, I mean, man, it could be a long day. Plus, it's in Ireland. You got to go all the way across the ocean. I know it's Notre Dame. So could it be close? Yeah. I mean, even last year, as bad as Navy was, and Notre Dame at the time was on a roll, they got a big – I think that game was in Philly. They got up big on the midshipmen. And then Navy came back and scared the bejesus, no pun intended, out of Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. So so I don't know. They play every single year too. So that's something else to keep in mind. So you do have to think that there's been some preparation for that special style of offense that the Irish have undergone this offseason. It's tough, man. I don't know that I would schedule a team like that in the opener just because – and I know Ohio State did it a few years back when Urban Meyer was coaching them, and they had trouble the first half. Because then you're week 2 and week 3, you're not – you spend all your summer prepping for the option. And then I think Notre Dame in week 3 has Ohio State week 3 or 4. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Peter.
Is there anything that we will learn from a game that nobody's talking about and you won't even really be able to watch it? It's on the Pac-12 network, but Southern Cal, I mean, they're going to beat San Jose State. They're going to beat them like a drum. I know that. But Southern Cal comes into the season ranked number 6, and they seem to be one of the programs. Phil, we got a final break, don't we? So we got to hit that real quick. So we'll finish this conversation on the other side. But they seem to be one of, I'd say, 4 or 5 programs that are a popular pick to squeeze into the playoffs. So we'll continue that conversation. We're painted garnet and black by a couple of painters. LetMePaintSomething.com. Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barn Dough Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barn Dough Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, TravelingCountryClub.com, TravelingCountryClub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garnet black every day by a couple of painters. Go to LetMePaintSomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com. Few minutes. Finish that conversation here. A thought from both of you here is the Southern Cal game. Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy last year, but what will we be watching in that game to see if maybe they're a contender to be into the playoff this year? Because I think they probably are. And is that the kickoff to back-to-back Heisman trophies for Caleb Williams? Do y'all know who the last player in college football was to win back-to-back Heisman trophies?
The guy from Ohio State.
Yeah.
The guy. Archie Griffin.
Archie Griffin, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy from Ohio State.
I've been on a bad roll with names lately, so didn't want to.
He wasn't a quarterback either, was he?
74, 75. You're coming up on 50 years. Yeah. Is he? I mean, he's the leader to win the Heisman Trophy again this year. But is Saturday, does it people, they don't like giving that award out twice, man.
He won't be as good this year.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he was really the guy last year, to be honest. I thought it was Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. Well, then who is your player to watch to win the Heisman this year? If it's
Stetson Bennett,
he's not in the game.
I don't care. He's coming back for an 8th year.
What are you talking about?
No, Brock Bowers. I think he's going to be the best player in college football.
He's not going to win the Heisman.
I don't care.
If he's in the conversation, Carson Beck is. That's the only thing that overshadows him is that nowadays this group,
he can't win it.
They should rename it. Call it just do away with the Heisman and just give the Manning Award winner to whoever.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, I agree.
To
I
the
don't disagree
MVP or whatever. But I think
so it's not Drake May and it's not Caleb Williams.
Drake May won't even sniff it. He's going to have a year a lot like Mitch Trubisky, where they're still talking number one, but it's 8-4. Right. He won't even sniff it. Caleb Williams, because Lincoln Riley's teams are not good on defense, they'll lose at least one game where they're just out physical, just like they did last year. They lost 2-3. Lost twice to Utah and once to Tulane.
I
just don't know.
Okay, how about
Jordan, this? Jordan Travis or Sam Hartman? That's interesting. Those are interesting.
I buy into that. Quantrell's on it. Sam Hartman has a chance, big time, and so does Jordan Travis, of course. Hey, look, his moment. He has two moments early: LSU, Clemson. Week 1, week 4. Jordan, if LSU gets through those unscathed, he might be the guy who's leading the Heisman conversation. Because they can't go 4-0 in those games without him playing elite.
Don't count out Spencer Rattler.
That's right.
No, I'm not. I was going to say, too, this guy's name is not, quote-unquote, off the radar. Because if you're a quarterback at Alabama, you're not off the radar. But if they really are settling on Jalen Milroe, there's a reason. And when you're the quarterback in today's times, I think we've learned this at Ohio State, at Georgia, at Alabama, you're in the conversation.
Well, here's the thing too about him, JB, is if he's fixed his throwing and he can throw with the way he can run, that guy that goes from being a one-dimensional quarterback where you've got to really kind of scheme your offense to manufacture one end of it or the other, to you could run whatever the hell you want on offense.
Agreed.
And your defense has to adjust to it. And that there's a big difference between Jalen Milroe that can throw and Jalen Milroe that can't, especially with his supporting cast. And I think we saw last year in the bowl game, Tommy Rees not only will call the run game, call the quarterback run game. He'll call a quarterback run. He's really good at knowing when to do it. Y'all remember Tyler Buckner? Straight up the middle for 20 yards and a TD in the bowl? Called play.
He's got a good feel for the –
Now you've got Milroe back there who, if he's on his own 15, that's a touchdown. So I am with you there, Ben. If he does indeed win it and he is the guy and he throws it well enough, look out.
No doubt. Alabama wins the national championship. I called that weeks ago. All right, we're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, producer Phil. You got to watch the clock. Watch the clock.
Roll Tide, what?
This thing, the conversation was just so good, I didn't even hit the music. Look at that.
Somebody said DJ Ungolai at Oregon State's going to win it.
God, wouldn't that do us all good to see him win?
Our Tiger Illustrated says Cade Kublanik will win the Heisman. I think Cade's going to put up big numbers.
I think so, too. I'm just wondering how much of that's going to be aided by home cooking referee stuff that we saw last year when he was playing.
I can laugh at that. Milroe's 500-1. Yeah, all right. I might lay $10 on that.
Yeah,
Holy smokes!
And Alabama, G's, man,
I might put 20 on that thing. We can say this now and see if we can laugh at it later. You never know. Things change. This certainly could be the case. Don't want to say that it won't be, but I did find it funny this morning scrolling Twitter and seeing the headline from Clemson. Maffa, one of their running backs, is thankful that Thunder and Lightning 2.0 has the original version in the house. Oh, is that what they are? Will Shipley and Phil Maffa are the reincarnation of James Davis and CJ freaking Spiller. God, do y'all ever stop?
I thought Travis Etienne and Tavian Feaster with those guys.
Yeah, wasn't that 2.0? Is this not?
Well, this particular website literally sleeps in the jock straps of Clemson football. So,
Well, jock straps are shaped somewhat like a cradle if you don't have one. Just crawl up in there, sleep like a baby.
Thunder and lightning. Too.
Go Tigers.
Thunder and lightning.
Okay. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Let Clemson people be happy.
Let Clemson be happy. Yes.
Let them be happy.
Let them be.
Oh, they're ranked about the Athletic ranked 1 through 133 today. Clemson was 11th. Gamecocks were 21st, which is high compared to the other polls. North Carolina 20th. Tennessee 10th. We should talk about this one because there's some over and underrated teams.
I'll tell you what, we'll put that right on the docket tomorrow. We've got what is tomorrow? I don't even know what tomorrow is. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Who the hell are we talking to tomorrow? Hale McGranahan and Mike Morgan.
Yeah, it's Power Hour. Don't forget that.
Power Hour.
So, yeah. And no Chris Phillips this week. He's in Montana. I saw just some random picture on his Instagram of just a bunch of trees.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's my
that's where I'm going one day. I'm out of here.
Having a good time. So
my cousin was up in Utahville this weekend. He said, "Man, sure do miss it up. We used to work up there when we were kids." He said, "Man, it is quiet and there's tractors driving down the road." I said, "Well, one day that's where I'll be." You won't be able to Utahville, South Carolina. You won't be able to find me unless you take a wrong turn. How about that? All right, thanks to John Whittle and Pat DiMarco. Talking ball with the great Pat DiMarco. Painted garnet and black by a couple of painters and teed up by Traveling Country Club. The weather. Come on, cool weather. Come on. Golf in the fall is special. TravelingCountryClub.com. For JC and Phil, I'm JB. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 right here on the Chief Sports app inside the Gamecocks, the show.